Hey guys, so I'm here today to film my top beauty products of the decade video, which is wild. I actually got into makeup probably around 2009, 2010, so I have literally been a makeup junkie for 10 years. So I have seen the makeup landscape change, and I thought this would be a fun video to watch and to make. So I kind of went back the past 10 years and I thought about makeup products that were like revolutionary for me and that were my personal favorites of the decade, things that kind of changed the game for me, and then also just makeup products that were revolutionary in the makeup industry as a whole, because I thought both were important to touch on. So let's do it. First, I'm going to talk about one tool, and you know it's the Beauty Blender. I literally have a cup. Actually an empty Bath & Body Works candle full of beauty blenders. Beauty Blender changed the game, there is no doubt about this. I don't know when this launched. I think it actually launched before 2010, but it really became popular in the 2010s. It kind of blew up on social media, on YouTube, and everyone got a beauty blender. And truly, I'm so happy for it, because if you've been watching my channel, you know that I only apply my foundation with a beauty blender, because I hate everything else. First of all, I don't want to have to wash a brush. And I feel like after I apply foundation with a brush, like after using it for 2 days, like it's so coated in foundation, it's like gross and streaky, and I don't have the problem with a beauty blender, because at least if I wash it, I can use it right away because it has to be wet. Also, I have like 6 of them for this reason. So Beauty Blender is definitely just like a product that really, you can tell it's iconic because there's 800 million dupes of it. And also Beauty Blender actually patented their sponge technology, I guess. So even with all the dupes out there, no one can actually use the same like makeup as Beauty Blender does. So that's pretty iconic. And yeah, Beauty Blender is just fantastic. And I truly do think that, like, lots of people always say like, oh, there's so many dupes for Beauty Blender, and I've tried lots of them. I like the Real Technique sponge. I like the L'Oreal one, but I will say is that while they're cheaper, about half price, I guess, because Beauty Blender is like $26 in Canada. You can usually get the other ones for like 10, but this lasts longer for me than any other sponge. I don't know if I'm just like rough with my sponges when I wash them, because I'm really trying to get all of the foundation out of them, but I find that while I get micro tears in the Beauty Blender, it doesn't really fall apart until like years after using it. Whereas with sponges like the Real Technique sponge and the L'Oreal sponge, I just find that I rip them so easily and then I have to buy a new one. So it's actually not cheaper for me in the long run than a Beauty Blender. I fucking love Beauty Blender, if you can't tell. Next, I want to talk about foundation, and now I have the Nars Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation here, and I don't think this is a revolutionary one. For me, it's Nars Sheer Glow. I don't have a Nars Sheer Glow because I kind of replaced it with this within the last year, but Nars Sheer Glow was revolutionary for me because it was the first high-end foundation that I personally purchased, and also it came around in a time when I would say like in the early 2010s, YouTube was really about full coverage, like matte foundation. Matte skin was in, and a lot of the girls who had YouTube channels had oily skin, so they were making videos for other girls with oily skin, which, like, I get it because it's hard. I guess it's hard to deal with. I don't know. I have dry skin. So for me, I would watch people do foundation reviews and stuff, and like they had oily skin and I couldn't relate. And then Nars Sheer Glow came out, and it was one of the first foundations that like actually was about looking like natural skin, but while it was still having coverage, and it was just one of my favorites for years to come. I repurchased it multiple times. I purchased this one within I guess not last year, but the year before that, and I absolutely love it because it's just slightly more coverage than Sheer Glow. It's what I'm wearing today, but I do still want to buy a Sheer Glow to have in my collection because I love Sheer Glow. I think it was really revolutionary for the time period, because like I said, everything was about matte skin back then. Like MAC Studio Fix was the shit, and like no thank you. For primers, the Becca Backlight primer was revolutionary for me personally. This is a fantastic primer, and I think I've purchased 3 or 4 of these. I know it only came out probably 5 years ago or something, but it's been my standby foundation for the past 5 years. Again, primer. Primers were really about pore filling and like pore blurring, and they really didn't start coming out with primers that were illuminating or hydrating until probably 5 years ago. because everyone wanted matte, poreless skin, and those just never worked for me. I used like, remember Smashbox Photo Finish? Iconic. I used that forever, but like now that I think about it, it never really did anything for me personally, because for me, I need hydration, I need glowiness. So for me personally, this is a revolutionary product. I'm not sure if it was revolutionary in like the landscape of primers, but even still, there aren't a lot of illuminating primers out there, and there aren't a lot that actually work, and this is one of them. For concealer, I have to talk about two. The first one I have to obviously mention is Tarte Shape Tape. Hands down, one of the most iconic product launches in the last 10 years. One of the most raved about product launches in the last 10 years. I wear it every single day and I absolutely love it, and I've been wearing it since I got my hands on it a couple years ago. It's been a holy grail. I've been through like 3 or 4 of these, I'm sure. There's so much product in here. It lasts forever. It's amazing. You all know about Shape Tape, so I'll shut up. But another concealer I feel like kind of has been overlooked recently is the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. When this came out, it was like Shape Tape. Everyone had it, everyone was using it. It was like, again, everything was so matte and poreless back in the day that to come out with something that was radiant creamy concealer was fucking revolutionary for the time, and it performed beautifully. Honestly, my biggest qualm with this is I really hate the applicator. It's stiff, it doesn't pick up a lot of product, and it's kind of like hard under the eyes. If they reformulated this with like a better applicator, I would love it even more. But I still use this all the time. Like if I want to just run out the door and but like still like, you know, look like I actually got sleep, I will put this just kind of under my, like the other day I was running out the door with my husband and I put this under my eyes and just like kind of like on any blemishes, and I just blended it out with a brush really quickly, and like I looked at myself in a mirror when I was out and I was like, wow, my makeup looks really good. Like I look like, it looks skin-like, but I look healthy and alive, and that's because this is such a beautiful concealer. It works for no makeup days, but it still like has coverage. It just because it has that radiance to it. I love this concealer. It's just like not like full beat like Shape Tape, but like it is a great concealer and was like super revolutionary for its time. And also I'm in the shade Vanilla too, and I've always thought that it wasn't the right shade for me because it wasn't light enough. But I looked and they have come out with a couple new shades, so I might have to try that out. I'm gonna go with eyeshadows, and the first palette I have to talk about is the Naked palette. If you weren't around when the original Naked palette launched, you won't remember that palettes weren't a thing. The Naked palette made palettes a thing. Back then, brands were not coming out with palettes. It was single shadows, it was duos. Do you remember fucking like shimmery duos? I had so many of those. It was duos and trios and like all those tiny little quads and stuff, but no one was coming out with palettes. Even back then, the only brand that came out with palettes was like Urban Decay, I'm pretty sure, and they had like the Vice palettes, which were like crazy funky colors for like the kind of girl that was really into makeup and like crazy funky colors, but no one had come out with a palette that was literally just neutrals. This is my original Naked palette. I have never gotten rid of it. It's beautiful. I actually wore it the other day when I was thinking about this video, and I will say there's way too many shimmers in this palette, but back in like the early 2010s, literally shimmers were everything. People would just wear shimmers all over their whole fucking eyeballs. And I mean, obviously it's not very deep skin tone friendly because like your darkest matte is this color here. But it was revolutionary for the time because no one had come out with a neutral fucking palette, which is like mind-blowing now. This kickstarted the entire neutral palette trend, and I think it deserves all the hype in the world and all the love in the world for just doing that, because that is revolutionary. This kickstarted the palette trend. We've come too far. There's too many fucking palettes now, but this is what gave us every other warm toned palette that's launched in the last 10 years is because of the Naked palette, hands down. So Urban Decay did something here. I'm so mad that they discontinued this and like came out with like the Reloaded palette. Like, no. Original Naked is the shit, and I love it. And I will never let this palette go. I will never declutter it. It's beautiful. And another palette I have to talk about is the Modern Renaissance palette. This baby was hot fire, and I'm actually wearing it today, and I totally forgot how much I loved it, and it's beautiful. And this palette was really kind of like, I think the palette that kickstarted Anastasia. I know they had the Mario palette before that, and I think a couple other palettes before that, but this palette is really what made people look at Anastasia as a brand and like as more than just like the eyebrow brand, and what really kind of made people think their eyeshadows were fantastic. Like, I think this is probably one of the first Anastasia products I ever bought. And now I have like 5 of their palettes because this was the first palette that made everyone go, holy fuck balls, this is amazing. And also, this color story was very like revolutionary. We were like in a warm toned brown fucking hellhole when this palette came out. And I absolutely love it. There were brights in here, but they made brights like wearable because like they're still like muted enough that you can wear them every day. It was just like such a beautiful palette, and it really was like a game changer in the makeup world because like the whole makeup community went fucking wild for this, and for correct reasons. Like, I have no regrets buying this. It's one of my favorite palettes. I absolutely love it. I actually kind of haven't touched it in like a couple months, so I'm wearing it today and totally forgot how beautiful it is. Sticking with eyes, I have to talk about Colourpop shadows. The Colourpop Super Shock shadows is what they first launched with, and truly, it's still their most revolutionary product. Cream shadows were kind of never a thing until Colourpop made them a thing. Like, today I'm wearing Cherry's Jubilee from the My Little Pony collection on the inner part of my lid. I'm not sure. Okay, this is an Ultra Glitter, which are my favorites because the other one I have here to show you is I Heart This, which is also an Ultra Glitter. But they made cream shadows cool again. They are one of the first brands that were like, hey, look, you can do a like glittery cream shadow without having to, you know, powders are usually like not shimmery enough, and especially like shimmers back then weren't as shimmery, and then like glitters are too intense. This was like the perfect middle ground. And now there's so many brands that have shimmery like cream shadows, and I feel like not a lot of brands did that before, and Colourpop made them cool again. And I remember when I saw these, I was like, who wants cream shadows? That's weird. And then I got them and I was like, oh, I'm obsessed. I see now. Colourpop changed the game with that 100%. And in the same vein, I have to talk about the Stila Glitter and Glows. These were revolutionary because glitter is awesome, but glitter is also a pain in the fucking ass, and these came along and just changed the game. It made, I mean, it's still a little bit of a pain in the ass to apply, but this made glitter accessible to everyone. It made glitter easy to apply. Like, I have lit glitters, but I never use them because they're so annoying to have to like use a glitter glue and then put them on, and like, who has time for that? Whereas these, you literally just paint on your lid, you can kind of like tap them in and they're totally fucking done. And no one had been able to make a glitter like this that works. And even some other brands have tried to replicate these, but they're usually like more metallics and not glitters, whereas Stila really knocked the glitter and glows out of the park, which is wild because like, what the fuck other products is Stila known for? Like, kitten eyeshadow was a thing, I guess, in the 2010s, but like, other than that, they're not known for a lot. So these are fire. Last eye product is the Kat Von D. I have the ink liner in Trooper, but most people would be known by the tattoo liner. I know there's like all this like things about Kat Von D sucking, but regardless of that, this was an iconic product in the 2010s. When this came out, every fucking buddy was using tattoo liner and talking about how it was the best liquid liner they'd ever tried. And liquid liners for a long time sucked. You couldn't find a liquid liner that like was waterproof or like that wasn't like watery or like dragged weird, and Kat Von D did that. She made liquid liners good. And this liquid liner is bomb, and you can't tell me otherwise. Eyebrow product I have to talk about is Dip Brow. Anastasia as a whole like killed it with the brow game, but Dip Brow really was a revolutionary product and something that we hadn't seen before. It wasn't a pencil, it wasn't just like a brow gel. It was a fucking dip brow. It was the bomb.com, and I don't use it anymore. It was created to be, hello cat. It was created to be able to be used pretty lightly on your brows, but people went Instagram ham with it, which I'm sure was not Anastasia's goal, but regardless, this wasn't like an innovative product and you can't deny it. Okay, cat, why don't you sit on my lap? The last few products, oh wait, I have one more makeup product and the last are like extras, and I have 4% left of my battery, so we're gonna give her. Mineralize Skinfinish Natural in Light Plus. Okay, this was revolutionary just for me. I bought this face powder. I went back and watched my videos, and I bought this face powder in like 2008 or something, and I haven't stopped buying it since. I've been buying this face powder for 10 years. And if that's not revolutionary for me, I don't know what the fuck is. I love this face powder. It's so miraculous. It sets my face really well, but it still has, it's a mineralized skin finish, so it still has like that natural skin-like finish to it. It's amazing. This is like the really old packaging because I have a backup of it, and this is, my friend gave this to me. I have so many of these. I've bought so many of these in my life. I can't tell you how many, but I love this. It's also great to use as like a powder foundation on days when you don't want to put your whole face on. I've used this for so many things and it just looks so beautiful on the skin. Cat, move your face. So yeah, I love this powder, and this was like a revolutionary for me product because I've been buying it for 10 years. Last kind of makeup-y product is MAC Fix Plus. I don't know when this became popular, but I know it only became popular within like the last 10 years, and people were raving about this constantly. Could you move your butt? People were raving about this constantly, and it is a beautiful, it's not a setting spray, it's definitely a finishing spray because it takes away the cakiness and the powderiness of your makeup, and I absolutely love this, and it totally was a product that like got raved about in the 2010s and deserves all the hype it ever got because I have bought so many of these. When I first saw this when setting for the thing, I thought it was stupid, but then I bought it and I fell in love with it, so there's that. Also, sidebar, totally forgot to pull it out here, but Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray, obviously, iconic. I have to talk about Glamglow. Glamglow changed the game for the skincare game. You can't tell me it didn't. This was a revolutionary product. They came out and they just like changed the whole skincare game. These are fucking expensive, but I do think that the Glamglow Supermud is an iconic, legendary, of the decade kind of product. Okay, my camera's dying. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you next time. Let me know down below what your favorites were from the decade. Bye!